Yeah, guys, what is up? I am using my laptop here for this session, and I just want to make sure that I've done this properly. Looks like everything is a go, so I'm looking good and feeling good here. With the possible exception, my dog wants to come out here, although I don't think I'm going to let him do that. So there may be a little bit of excitement here in a minute where I get up and let my dog out, but I really, really doubt that. Um, so glad to be with you guys today. I'm excited. Man, I can't tell you what a great weekend we had over at Sean's place last weekend. And I was proud to be able to deliver some content to that group, send them away with accountability plans and accountability partners. Um, but, look, that's the critical part. Let me shut the door on my dog. Hold on, give me one second. Okay, a little live action there. That was really fun. Um, but yeah, to be able to get with you guys in Franklin and to have you in the room for 2 days and to have you deep dive into what you really want to make happen inside of your lives, and then to help you put together a plan to begin that journey. It's pretty exciting. I mean, for me, that's what it's all about, right? So I'm really excited that the folks who were at the live event were able to have that experience, leaving with accountability partners. And I would just say to anybody who wasn't at that live event this year, got to be at the one next year. You need to take the step, make the leap to get more involved. I know there's a thing going on with Don DePani, and Sean has all the details on that. I have also been through a session with Don DePani, met him several times. Fascinating guy, and to be in his presence is really cool. So I know you would learn a lot. So I highly encourage you to do that. I've got a list of questions over here, and I'm just going to begin to roll through these. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to be as thorough as I possibly can on these questions. I want to make sure I get to all of them. I might not, but I'm just going to do the best that I can here. Hi, what's up, guys? Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to start with the first one here. This is Denzel Pryor, and Denzel asked, I have a personal goal to get my business to gross $20,000 by Wednesday, August 12th at the latest. Now, I love those numbers. If you're going to set a goal, they had better be actionable and very detailed. So in broad strokes, if you're going to set a goal, it should have a noun, verb, and a number. Denzel just hit it. He wants his business to gross $20,000 by Wednesday, August 12th at the latest. He goes on to say, in these challenging times of COVID-19, protests, riots, how would you go about connecting with, number one, mortgage loan officers, number two, lenders, number three, escrow agents, number four, title companies about doing real estate closings in volume during these troubling times? Now, a couple different things. I'm privileged to work with several home builders. And so for those guys, if they can't get their homes closed, then they got some problems, right? So at least in the cities that they live in, and we're talking about Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Alabama, what they're finding is lots of loan officers, lenders, title companies are doing drive-up service. They've really changed the way that they work. In fact, they've got it to the point where people can literally drive up, hand the papers through the window. They'll come out, and they kind of go through some different machinations to make sure that everybody is being socially distant. Although, in my opinion, there's a lot of theater involved there too. I'm not sure the virus cares that much about masks and gloves and whatnot. But I'll play along. If everybody else is playing along, I'll play along. This is what I think. If you want to connect with specific mortgage loan officers, lenders, escrow agents, and title companies, Denzel, there's never going to be a better time to get people on the phone or Zoom call than right now. If people are on lockdown, they're already in front of their computer 10 hours a day, and all you have to do is get a sliver of that time to get in front of them. Vern Harnish, the guy who wrote the book Scaling Up, is a great aggregator of information, and he's just a great thinker. And when he started out, he made a list of the top 25 people. Who are the top 25 people that I need to have conversations with? It's a wish list. Like if you could talk to anybody, Denzel, right? Maybe it's these people you just mentioned in your market, or maybe it's further up the chain. Maybe this is a thought leader in your space or somebody who you really want to connect with. I'm telling you, there'll never be a better time in the history of the United States or the world for you to get a hold of and get some FaceTime or talk time with some people who you normally would never have the chance. And I'm not comparing myself to those people. What I'm saying is, last year I flew 131 flights. Like, I was in flight all the time, and when I wasn't in flight, I was busy, right? So that hasn't been the case this year. I'm actually kind of liking it. I have a lot more availability than I ever have, and I imagine that bumps all the way up the chain to everybody in every industry and every position. So, Denzel, I think the number one thing you should do is make your list. Make a list of the top 20 people. If you could have a conversation with them, it would be important, and you would want to talk to them. And then you should reach out to each one of them individually. If you can find a phone number on them, just call them. Do not preface it with an email. Don't do that. If they don't know you, when it's all said and done, they'll just ignore the email and you'll get nowhere. If you can get an actual phone number for somebody, just call them and leave them a message. And if you call them, you get their cell, or if you get their private number and you're able to leave them a message, all you have to do is say, hi, this is Denzel Pryor. I appreciate a call back, 615, blah, 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 whatever your number is. Don't tell them who you are or what you want. They're more likely to call back. And then when they do, then you got them. Then you can hit them with some compelling questions or whatever you want from them. And generally speaking, some people are assholes. Generally speaking, in my experience, people who've been successful and people who can be helpful, they want to be and they will be. So good luck with that, Denzel, and please let me know how that goes. Most important thing is, by the way, not just Denzel, anybody else, make your list. Make your list. Who do you want to connect with? Now's the time to connect. Another way to say it is, this time will be over soon. The window's going to close, so you need to do it now. Okay? Great question. Heather, one of my favorites, Heather Brockman. I don't like to play favorites, but you guys know I have some, and Heather's at the top. She said, I think I'm at the point where I want to start offering my company as a business opportunity. What the steps I need to take? Where does one even start to branch off into types of expansion like this? Well, one of my favorite things to say to people when it's true is, I don't know. I really don't know. However, I've got a couple of friends who really do know, Heather. So please shoot me an email and I can get you hooked up via email with one of my buddies who was an EO. I'm wearing my Nashville EO shirt today, Entrepreneurs Organization. One of my EO forum mates is a very successful franchisee. She's got 10 inside of this big national, syndicate, and she knows all the ins and outs of that stuff. And by the way, rip off and duplicate, R&D. You could go on and Google, and there's no less than, what you want to be sure you don't do is you don't want to get into a sales structure from somebody who wants to charge you to create franchises for you. Although I would probably, remember at the Facebook or at AO Live, where I was encouraging you guys to read. I think what I said was I wanted all of you to read two books a month through the end of the year. Maybe one of those books should be How to Develop Franchise Model and what that looks like. In fact, the way to do it now is probably different than 5 or 10 years ago. So now would be the time to figure that out. Now would be the time to make sure that all of the financial components work. Now would be the time to figure out how to get people to figure out how to lease or buy trucks and how to get up and running. Plus all of those other products and services that you're going to offer. So give me a shout out via email. I'll hook you up with my buddies who are in franchising. They'll be able to, they're very generous people. They'll tell you everything that you want to know. But in lieu of that, I'm certainly, there are a couple of books that probably just kind of spell it out for you entirely. I don't know those books. Go into Amazon and search it, buy it, consume the information. And then the next time you talk to me, maybe you can tell me about it, because that's not something I have a lot of experience with. Most of the companies I work with are much larger, and they're not franchises necessarily. Although I know franchises can be a very, very lucrative business, not only for the franchisor, but for the franchisees if and when done well. Okay. So good question. All right, we've got Allison here. And Allison, who's in strategic marketing, it looks like. She asked, I have two pending possible clients, one that could possibly be the largest deal my agency has ever made. It's taken about 2 weeks for that one, and it's still going through some other things with the business. And they say they'll sign an agreement once it settles. And the other, I've been working for a week now, and I've even closed a bulk order for him on his products, even though we aren't officially working together yet. I know they both are eventually going to partner with my agency, but my question is, how do I create a sense of urgency without sounding pushy? I don't want them to say no to my services, and just because I asked them again what they thought of the proposal, if they had any questions, thank you for your time and expertise. Allison, this is such a good question. I'll bet you all 40 people who were at AO Live are probably screaming out what I'm about to say. Allison, if you're in sales, you are in the business of being pushy. You're the expert, particularly for these people who you know they need what you do. Don't be afraid of being pushy, number one. You're not being pushy. You're leading them to the sale. If you're a salesperson, you own the sale. Straight up from the beginning, hey, how are you? This is what I do. To the end. These are the expectations. This is how you close. And you put in there, I don't want them to say no just because I asked them again what they thought of the proposal and if they had any questions. They know what the proposal is. Allison, they don't have any questions. It's just hard to get people to sign on the line. And the only way to do it is to tell them to do it. Hey, client A, you've had the proposal for a while. You know everything that's entailed. We've already done some work. Sign this piece of paper so we can go all in and I can do what I need to do on my end so I can best service you. Or quit wasting my time, right? I mean, I don't want to be hard about it, but sometimes you have to be, right? I can send proposals to people all day long and that's fine. And in the past, I've been known to do that. But you know what? Not anymore. I send them a proposal, and then it's like I jump on the phone and say, hey, I just sent you the proposal. Look it over. You have any questions? No. Good. When do we start? Sign here. Oh, well, hold on. I'm not sure. I need to think about it. Well, okay. Well, then you have all the info. Call me back when you thought about it. I'm busy, right? So I don't want you to be too ballsy, and I don't want you to be a dick about it. And I don't want you to get it taken advantage of either. You're doing free work for people, and they're afraid, all the risk is on you. No way. No way, Allison. You're better than that. So I'm the Mr. Obvious. I'm the king of like transparent talk, right? Real talk, dude. Just what you said there, I would say to them. Hey, Mr. Second Company, I've been working with you for a week now. I've even closed some bulk orders for you, even though we're not officially working together yet. And this is starting to feel a little bit weird. So let's make it official. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, why don't you want to do that? Well, at least now you're going to hear some objections that you can either overcome or you can tell the guy to get lost. Either way, you need to know. So I don't want you wasting any more time. By the way, I don't get the feeling you're wasting your time with those two. I think they're likely going to sign whatever agreement you want. And just not knowing you and not knowing your process, I'm not sure, Allison, that you've straight up asked them. And it's time for you to tell them that you have value and partnering with you has value, and they need to sign their agreement, or you're going to go find somebody else to do great work for. There's nothing wrong with that. And they can either say yes or no, and that's you will have said your piece, right? So do not be afraid to ask for that sale. You need to, and just get to the sale. Get to the sale. I know Sean would say that. I know Tom Black would say that. Don't let these prospects push you around. You're the one with something to sell to them, and you got to lead them to it. Okay. Oh boy, another one from Allison. Oh my God, and this goes right into one of my favorite things. And I know Heather, and I know Aiden, and I know that Deanna and people. This is going to really resonate with some folks. Allison again said, do you have any resources or advice on how to sell my services at a higher fee than what I sell it for now? I want to be able to convince potential clients that will receive value for the investment they make with me. I'm having trouble feeling confident enough to price my service higher. Great question, Allison. Number one, there is a book. And if everybody watching this, okay, I'm just hear me now and believe me later. You can watch this, you can watch it for an hour, you can get fired up, go make the most of your Friday flex and all this stuff. That's awesome. Everybody on this call needs to read the book, Confessions of the Pricing Man by Herman Simon. Okay? Confessions of the Pricing Man. Right this second, you should pause the video. If you're watching on replay, you go to Amazon, you order the book, not the audio book, because that's lame. You should get discipline, read a book. And here's why. I'm sorry. You should get the book for two reasons. There's a discipline to reading the book, and you're going to need to go back and look at it, and you can't do that with audiobooks. At least it doesn't work in my brain. I can listen to an audiobook, take in some of the info, but if all I have is on this audio file, I'm never going to go find the stuff I need to look at. And Confessions of the Pricing Man has got concepts and stuff that you need to know to go achieve the question that you just answered. And what you're going to do is you're going to earmark those pages. You're going to make highlights like you're going to learn. Okay? So Confessions of the Pricing Man. That's the number one resource, the advice to sell your services at a higher fee. Okay, now the next part of my little diatribe here is, you said I'm having trouble feeling confident enough to price my services higher. No problem. You're a newer company. Don't worry about it. Like if you were 20 years from now, you wouldn't have a lack of confidence. Right now you do. Cool. This is how you do it. And this is something we talked about at AO Live. You need to also, just throwing this out there, there's a book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. In that book, there's a lot of strategy stuff. One thing we talked about at AO Live a lot was the 7 strata of strategy. And strata just means layers, right? So 7 layers of strategy. In my mind, the most important part of that is discovering who your core customer is, right? So Allison, once you know who your core customer is, and once you discover who your core customer should be, and if all your clients could be this one person, you'd have the easiest job ever. They know what they want, they know what stuff costs, they're willing to pay more for great value and all this stuff, right? You can just do 10 to 25 word core customer statement. Once you know who that is, you'll know also then to figure out what are the 3 most important things to those core customers. Those are called your brand promises. Boom, 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 boom. So you need to figure out what's most important to your core clients. Maybe it's return on marketing investment, right? The ROI is number 1, return on investment. Number 2 is maybe the results, right? Maybe it's walk-in traffic. Maybe it's inbound leads on the internet or whatever. And some other thing. Brand promises. And once you start to measure those 3 brand promises and you're performing really, really well, you'll have all the confidence in the world. And you'll charge more and you'll be worth it. Okay? So I would say, and Allison, I don't know you. I'm sure you do great work. If I did know you and I knew the kind of quality of work you were doing and that you were blowing your competitors out of the water, I'd say you should charge twice as much right now and make people tell you that they're afraid to pay twice as much and figure that out and be worth it, right? But I don't know. I don't know if you're young business, older business, no matter, right? Once you know it in your heart, once you've figured out, hey, this is my core customer, I know how to get to them, these are the things that are important to them, I deliver those things like nobody's business, I charge more, right? And I don't mean a little more. I'm hopefully, we had a fresh squeezed lifestyle at the AO Live, and I was talking to her, and she is 2 things, right? She provides services and products. Some she sells live, some she sells on the internet, right? And I told her, I said, listen, the things you do live and you do really well, you should charge more just automatically out of hand. Go back and raise your prices. And I think she's already done that. And somewhere on the AO Facebook page, there was some chatter about that. She'd already done it twice, and people didn't even balk at the price, and she felt really good about that, and she was energized. So great. Now here's the other cool part. If her brand is such that her services are so by God awesome that people are willing to pay a premium price, guess what? They will also pay a premium price for any product that you offer. online or in person. Straight up. Well, I could go on Amazon and order this product from them and it costs less. Yeah, sure you could. Go ahead. Go ahead. I curate my collection. There's a reason why I'm steering you to this product, because I know what you need. Right? And by the way, Brittany from AO Live, this is kind of what we talked about, your idea of in the cannabis industry about curation and kind of having this brand to be able to steer people to the high-end product because you're going to be bespoke and you're going to lead them to it. That's perfect. This is what I've found out about really successful people. Really successful people love to pay a lot for things they have a lot of value in for two reasons. They know what stuff costs. They're not afraid to buy things that have awesome value, and it's cool. Also, let's be honest, they love to tell other people and their friends that they have somebody for that. Oh, I have a guy for that. In fact, I'm beginning to think that between me and you, I'm beginning to think some of the clients I have in Manhattan, YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, which is a much higher threshold to join than EO even. I think it's $14 million a year in revenue to even join. But they're big, big, big companies. I work with those guys. And I'm starting to get the feeling that I'm kind of like a luxury item. Like they just like to tell people that they have an executive coach who comes to see them from Nashville, some big, tall, redheaded guy who talks crazy and yells at them. And so when they say that, it's kind of funny. And I'm like, you know what? I guess I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm fine being a luxury item. That's cool. I guess it's better than being an economy item, right? So what I want you to do is figure out, number one, I want you to have that confidence. I want you to figure out how to justify the higher price. Core customer, brand promises, and this is nothing new under the sun, guys. You don't have to go read Scaling Up. You can go Google core customer brand promise, and you'll get, I don't know, 200 different essays and white papers on what it means. 10 of them are probably mine. I've written in entrepreneur.com, success.com, forbes.com about those things precisely. Just go find it. Arm yourself with information, figure it out. Keep reaching out through the portal to Sean or me or another mentor to deeper dive on it. We're all about it. Oh, and by the way, I know 40 people who belong to AO who should be experts on this stuff. Core customer and brand promises. We spent about 3 hours on it Sunday morning, so you guys should know what this stuff means. Okay, great questions. Let's go over here to Kristen. And Kristen, thank you you were on the live stream there for AO Live. So really sorry we couldn't see you, we couldn't hear you. I'm glad we were able to answer some questions through the chat, and I hope it was helpful. Kristen asked, as a copywriter, what's the best way to scale my business? I currently write for online coaches who can only afford up to $3,000 with me. Very few invest in someone else to write for them. If I want to make more in the future, is it about increasing prices or switching my niche to bigger businesses that can afford me and see the value in copy? P.S. I write everything myself. In the future, would love to work with a copy editor of another writer so I can take on more projects. All right, well, there's a bunch of stuff in there, Kristen. And my answer to all those is yes. The first thing I saw there, I write for coaches who can only afford up to $3,000 with me, and very few invest in someone else to write for them. Okay. I can guarantee you that there are people out there who need that 10x. They probably have a budget of $30,000 for online copywriting. You just don't know them, you haven't found them yet. So I would get laser focused on finding those people, number one, so that I could continue to do the thing that I do without having to bring on a bunch of people, right? And switching the niche to bigger businesses that can afford you, and maybe then you need a team, I would do that also, right? But the first thing I would do, I'm all about 10x, right? I want to make a difference 10x. Whether it's inside your businesses, if you can take an expense that you can cut by a factor of 10, that's a 10x advantage. Or if you can go out and you can prove that you are really, really good at what you do as far as copywriting, you can capture the essence of a coach very quickly. You can see around the corners for them. You can deliver really great content. Now, and Kristen, believe me, I might be actually one of your core customer prospects. It's just that right now, I really love doing that writing. Okay. Now, if you talk to me in 2 or 3 years, maybe not. And I might be over it. But right now, that's one of the things I really love to do, because about the only time I ever get to be quiet and be introspective and kind of speak as myself. But otherwise, I'm almost always taking in people's information from their businesses, and I'm helping to turn it and give it back to them in such a way that we can do something about whatever they need to work on. So when I write, that's really my little project that I love to do. So that's a brief aside. So I think, yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to go find a place where you can increase your prices. How to do that, I'm not exactly sure. Probably some of the stuff we just talked about with Allison. Who's your core customer? What do they look like? How do I find them? What's most important to them? And this might even seem weird. I mean, like, if you can really hammer out your core customer, right? You have it in 10 to 25 words. And then maybe you went somewhere where coaches, online coaches, events where people were going to be who needed what you do. You just set up a booth and then put a flyer, put a big sign up behind you that says, hey, are you my core customer? And have it listed right there and say, if so, stop right here. I know what you need. You know, and then you maybe would get 100 new contacts. And out of those 100, maybe you would sign 5 or 10 of them, and 5 or 10 of them at you know, $5,000 a month or whatever you're charging is, maybe would be the bump that you need. Then and only then would you hire people to help you, right? Because until you have a capacity problem, you don't have a problem. Push that revenue so hard that you have to go out and get a copy editor outsourced, or another writer outsourced. And believe me when I say another writer, you'll probably find another writer who can do the work all day long, but they'll never go out and do the selling and the prospecting the way that you've had to do. And you should get paid for that. So just keep that in mind. When you start to partner with people, copy editor, another writer, whatever, you have value there you're bringing to the table. So don't forget that. Okay. All right. Great job on that, Kristen. Good luck on that. Okay. This is Francisca. Credible copywriting, another copywriter. And Francisca said, hi, AO team. My question's about maintaining increasing profit margins when hiring and outsourcing. I typically charge $500 per article. If I were to outsource this, I would pay $200 to $400 for someone else to write it. I'm grappling with losing my profits by doing this. I'm wanting to get your take on what levers to tinker with. Should I raise my rates, even if my prices are a bit on the high end already? Try to find people who can do the work at a lower cost, or make up for lower profits by increasing sales volume and landing more projects. What do you suggest I prioritize? Is there another thing I could be doing that's not included in the above? All right, these are all very good questions. I think maybe the first thing, Francesa, maybe the first thing that you should do is discover that profit margin per article that you need to achieve. There's different ways to, you talk about pulling levers. You probably should find out your average profit margin per article. Right? That would be a target I'd look at. And I'd say I want it to be $350 per article. I want to make $350 profit per article. Okay, which means what? You could either stick at 500 and get somebody to write it for 150, and that would be a little problematic because maybe somebody at 150 is not good enough and maybe couldn't do the work. What does that mean? You'd have to charge more and pay somebody $250. Right? And then you would then have to go about figuring out who you could charge more to and prove the value of the work that you do, which is, let's be honest, we do that all day anyway, right? So no big deal. But when people go, oh, well, show me the value, show me the return on investment, this is what you do all day anyway. So don't be hung up on that. But number one, Francesa, I think if you could figure out the margin you need to achieve per article average, knowing that some you're going to do yourself, some you're going to outsource, however, my average margin across, and you want to be maintaining and increasing profit margins when hiring and outsourcing, I think you just always want to watch that going up. So that might inform the work that you do. Not all work is good work, right? If it's not worth the time and the heartache to get a $500 article and only make $100, then it's just a hard and fast rule. I'm not going to do that anymore. And it can be as easy as that. You just draw a line in the sand. I'm not going to do anything for less than X amount of profit margin, and I don't give a damn. I'll go back to working at a restaurant. I'm not saying that you did. I'm saying that I did. um, so so the answer is, what do you suggest I prioritize? Is find out that average profit margin per article. And then if you can find a way to push your articles up to 600, not a ton, not 1,000 or 5,000, 500 to 600, right? And you can find a good group of writers who would do it at 250, right? Now you're maintaining about 350 per article, and if that feels good to you, now you have a business model you can work with. Now all you have to do is go find a bunch of those 250 an article writers, and I gotta believe now, COVID, people out of work, people working from home, there's more than there was 3 months ago. Now you've got a hardcore business model and just say, hey, look, here's the deal. I need articles, I need copywriting done. It should probably take about this amount of time. I'm going to pay you $350. You don't need to know what my profit margin is, right? Yours is, you takes you an article to write it, you make $350. That's lawyer money, and that's cool, right? So that's all they need to know. So building your profit margin, figure that part out, and then find people to fulfill. And what you might also do, this would be another Confessions of the Pricing guy, Herman Simon. Once you become known, like it's a thing. And this answer could also go to Kristen as well. Once, and people might go, no, I really want you to write it. You really have the voice. You really can do it. Hey, no problem. When I do it, it's 1,000. That's it. I have people who I vet all of their articles. It's what I spend my time doing. I don't do a lot of writing myself. And when I do, it costs a premium price. You know what? You might find that people are happy to pay that premium price because they want the best, right? I think that's what you'll find. I hope it is. As you know, I'm not afraid of of the prices that I offer to people. I'm not afraid of that. My prices are also not the same across the board. If someone's interested in working with me and I get the feeling that they're going to be a very complex engagement, it costs more. No, and I'll tell them, hey, you did it for my buddy at this rate, and you're telling me at this rate. I said, yeah, because your buddy has got his shit together. He's a cool dude. He's going to do what I tell him to do, and it's going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be great. You are not. So far, you've been a jerk. Let's be honest. So far, you've even pushed me. You had to be the one to set the time we were going to meet because you're a control freak. I can tell that already. By the way, your dad's involved in the business, and that's going to be a train wreck, and blah blah. You get what I'm saying here. So not all work is equal. It doesn't mean I want to say no necessarily to something. If I can pump the price up and make it worth my heartache, fine. But that's just not typically what they're not my core customer. It's not what I want to do. So I hope that was helpful. Average profit margin per article. Start tracking that, and that'll inform what you need to go do. You have 3 things there you should go do. That'll help you prioritize it. Okay. All right, let's go to Law Jackson. Has got a question here. Hello again, mentors. I've begun making sales calls, and it's been interesting. A year ago, I would have fought with everything I had to not do sales calls. I'm at a different point now, and I have a few questions. Number 1, a lot of people are screening calls through voicemail. Should I leave voice messages? Do I read my script or just my contact info? Let's start with that one. I think I mentioned earlier, if you cold call somebody and you get their message, just say, hello, this is Law Jackson. My number is blah, 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 blah. Appreciate a call back. Speak soon. Thank you. Period. People will call you back if you do that. If you leave your script, they definitely won't call back. Few people are just sitting around waiting for somebody to call them to offer them their job or service, right? But if you can intrigue them a little bit and say, hey, this is Law Jackson, even if you want to do a little bit of an acting job and make it seem like you already know them, this works. Now, I've had this done. It kind of pissed me off, but it worked. I called them back. Hey, JT, this is Law. Hey, man, give me a call back at da-da-da-da-da-da. It was so casual. I felt like I knew the person, so I called them back. And then come to find out they had just played me completely. I didn't end up using their product, and I wasn't mad at them. I'm just kind of kidding. It really worked. So I wouldn't be afraid to do that. And by the way, I love that you have a script. So all salespeople should have a script. Anybody on this call that does any kind of sales, you should have a script. Don't wing it. I know you're great. I know you're awesome on your feet, and you're really smart people. You should have a script that keeps it on point, keeps you in your process of asking for that close all the time. Oh, and by the way, you need to have a script that you figure out that works, not for you, but for every other person that's ever going to sell for you. So good, go ahead and do that. So good for law, you've already got your script. Perfect. Number two, emailing my leads a sheet. I have emails and phone numbers. Shall I reach out via email to invite an introduction meeting? You could. That's one thing you would do to 1,000 or 10,000 people, just kind of blast them with an email. That's fine. I think most people would say that's highly ineffective. Most people just delete those emails. They just go by, they go to spam. They don't even look at them. Email's too easy to ignore. Okay, phone calls are harder to ignore, and I think salespeople should be making phone calls. That's just personal preference there. Best contact, should I target directors and content people, or should I always try to talk to the CEO? I ask because with large companies, the guys or gals near the tip top are really short. Today was my second day of calls. A couple of times I legitimately was scared to call certain businesses, but I made 2 appointments. Nice. Right as I was bracing myself for the non-stop rejection, we got a couple of yeses, so it felt really good. Okay, so time out there. It really depends on what you're selling as to whether or not you want to deal with target directors and content people, or always try to talk to the CEO. And I think what that means is it might be a price point thing. Okay, I don't know what your prices are. I don't know what you're offering. If you're offering something that costs $500 a month, target directors and content people could probably make that decision. They might have to bump it up to their next thing and then make a decision and go. If they're talking about something that is $5,000 a month or $50,000 a month, that's something that the CEO is going to make a decision on, right? So, my wife, who's a hardcore salesperson, and she's right now a partner in a fintech product that's about to take over the world, and she would say, for them, if they can't get to the CFO, they stop talking to people, because the CFO is really going to make the decision. The CFO is also going to understand the benefits of their product. The last thing you want is some mid-management marketing person attempting to explain what you do to the decision maker, because they're going to do it in a bad way. They're not going to get it. They can't convey the value the way you do and all that kind of stuff. So I know that's a little bit tricky to negotiate. One other thing in your script, probably already in your script, because it seemed like you've done this before, is, hey, are you a decision maker? Right? Don't be afraid to ask people that. Hey, this has been great. Want to give you some information. By the way, are you a decision maker? Are you somebody who could pull the trigger on this without even having to ask anybody? Yes, I am. Or, well, no, I'm not. I would have to bump it up to X, Y, Z. Well, that's no problem. I'd like to schedule another call with you, and can you have that person on the call, and I'll take them through this, and then maybe we can get to an action item at the end of that. All right? Fine. Once again, just like we said earlier in this Zoom, or in the middle of this Facebook Live, we're always asking for something. We're asking for sign on the line. We're asking for the call to action to get something done. Set them up for it. Don't be afraid. Hey, guys, hey, so glad you're on this call. At the end of this call, I'm going to be asking you to sign to move forward on this engagement. So let you know. Now, it'll be your choice to say no. We're not there yet, but I just want to set you up for that. That way, it's not shocking. The hard part's already over. It'd be like if you went on a first date and said, hey, darling, hey, Heather Brockman, wow, you're so pretty. We get along so well. And we're going to go out on a date. And at the end of this date, I am going to kiss you goodnight. Right? And that would be kind of fun and awkward. And it would also kind of disarm everything. That at the moment of truth, like when you went to go do it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Or she might say, no, I don't do that on the first date. Aha, and then we'd have kind of a laugh, and then we'd go on with our day. So when we're setting people up for success, what we want for them, we just tell them who to say it, right? So don't be afraid. All right, so let's go to the rest of this one for law. On a personal note, I've been questioned about bringing on a sales coach. Family members are getting in my face, trying to talk me off the ledge. It's a little frustrating, but very discouraging. I've heard people say I would be told you can't do it. It's like a punch to the gut for someone to tell me to my face. I could use some encouragement, y'all. Well, first of all, and I hope that, by the way, if you're watching this replay and there are children around, maybe you could ask them to leave the vicinity. And let me make sure my kids are not around either. Okay, they're not. All right. I've heard people say that I would be told you can't do it. It's a punch to the gut for someone to tell me in my face I could use some encouragement. Here's my take on that. If there's somebody in your life who's not an entrepreneur and they're giving you any advice at all about a goddamn thing, tell them to shut the fuck up. Okay? Pardon my French. I don't know if that was French. I think I just blacked out there for a second. But people who aren't entrepreneurs don't get it. They don't know what it's all about. They don't have the balls. They could never do what you're doing. And by the way, you're not even dreaming about it, Law. You're doing it. So keep going. Keep rocking and rolling. When the naysayers come up and tell you can't do it or talk you off the ledge or whatever, just say, hey, man, I am kicking ass. Here's all the stuff I'm doing. What are you doing? Push it back on them. What are you doing, man? How's that 9-to-5 job going to go punch in and work for the man? That's fine. I am the man. Right? So I hope that that's encouraging. By the way, AO is the place for that kind of encouraging. I saw it firsthand last weekend. And you also can encourage yourself. When you turn around, you look down at the stuff that you're doing, you had a bunch of cold calls and people were short and slammed the door in your face. And then guess what? You made 2 appointments and you had some opportunity. Now you've got even more opportunity to go in and sell your product. So I think you're doing things just fine. And I want you to reach out to other AOers for encouragement. And I want you to tell people who are trying to bring you down just to get lost, because they don't know they can't do what you do. They're scared. They've never done shit on their own, and they never will. Okay. I think you guys can tell how I feel about people bringing other people down. Okay, this is Adam Drake. And Adam said, I lead a team of financial advisors. I own the company. I'll be hiring an assistant in the next few months. This will be our only non-advisor employee. Should I focus my hire on serving existing clients' operations, which I feel we aren't being as consistent as we should be, or solely on sales and marketing, or a mix? Does hiring a jack of all trades ever really work, or should I commit to either sales or service? I understand if I commit to one or the other, these are the different types of people I'm looking for. Also, what questions can I ask myself and the team to get more clarity? Adam, this is a really great question. I'm going to say right out of hand, I do not believe you're going to get the results you want if you hire somebody to do some of both, right? Because anybody who would be good at one will be shit at the other. There's no way around it. Culture Index, Sumit does Culture Index stuff. It's brilliant. It'll let you know almost immediately what people are going to be good at. Why? Because they're good at what they want to be good at. And they're bad at the stuff that they suck at. They have no interest. So anybody who would be really good at servicing clients and operations are likely not going to be great at outside sales and marketing, and vice versa. Okay. Now there's a couple of different ways to skin the cat though. If you need to have an assistant, truly you could, instead of paying somebody $50,000 a year, you could pay, $1,500 a month and have a virtual assistant in the Philippines who could likely do damn near everything you want that person to do. And then you could invest that other money into somebody who, by the way, sales and marketing people are notoriously good at coming in at a very low base salary with lots of upside based on compensation based on performance. So it's almost like if I, before I said all that, if I said, well, how much are we planning on paying this person? Well, I don't know. In my market, it'd probably be $40,000 a year with a bonus and benefits, right? Some money. Well, at the plan that I just laid out there, you should get 2 people that fall into that same price range. There are plenty of sales and marketing people out there who do it on 100% commission, don't give a damn about a base salary. Although when they crush it, you're going to pay through the nose and you'll be happy to. And virtual assistants in the Philippines or Brazil or whatever, very, very attractive. So this isn't, gone are the days where you need an assistant person to come into an office and do stuff for you. In fact, what a lot of people are finding now with COVID and such is that people are, assistants and stuff are twice, 2, 3, 5 times more effective from home in front of their computer 10 hours a day, instead of commuting to an office and being the one who goes and orders lunch and a bunch of bullshit. You don't need to pay somebody to do that. You just need to pay somebody to service the existing clients, run operation stuff, so that you guys can keep your eye on the ball of financially advising people, and go get somebody else to be your outsourced sales and marketing person and let them kick some butt, completely outsourced, and just pay them return on investment. Hey man, I'm thinking about hiring you. What's your ROI history over the last 2 years, people you worked with? Well, it's this. And if they don't have that measurement, stop talking to them. They will have measurements that say, yeah, when it's all said and done, people pay us X amount of dollars. This is the return that they've seen, and that's 3 years running. We get really great results, and I'm so happy. Let me stroke you with a check. Start rocking. Okay, that's a very good question, Adam. Thank you. I don't want to move on. Also, what questions can I ask myself and the team to get more clarity? That's a good idea. Be thinking of any role that you're going to hire, outsource, or whatever. What are the results you need? So I would talk to the team and say, hey, if I got a virtual assistant in some far off land, what do we really need him or her to do? Well, we need to do this, this, this. Okay, good. Now because when you go to a virtual assistant model, all you have to say is, hey, I want to pay this much and I want these results. And that's it. They'll do it. Or they won't do it, right? And then you replace them very quickly. You, though, I think probably is the owner of the company, and maybe those financial advisors are also going to be pretty, they're going to be pretty opinionated about the way sales and marketing works, although none of them want to go do it. Am I right? So their opinions are great. Ultimately, you're the one paying for it. And maybe from them, it might be, hey, what kind of strengths are we looking for from somebody who we would hire to do marketing? What kind of work history? Is it somebody who's great at sales and marketing in all industries, or somebody who's just done financial advising before, right? By the way, I think you might be limiting yourself if you go that route, because in my experience, badass salespeople, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All you do is teach them about the product. You tell them who your core customer is. You turn them loose, and they crank and they grind and they kick ass. And it doesn't matter what the product is. So don't get all pigeonholed and on your high horse about, well, they have to have sold financial advising services. No, they don't. No, great salespeople will kick ass no matter what it is. That is from my personal experience. Okay, a couple more here. Hey, Alyssa, I know you. So this is from Alyssa. I met her last weekend. She says, I'm in the process of having my website built. I'm having a hard time deciding if I should have the pricing for my services on the website, or if it should only have the option to schedule a consult first and discuss it on the consultation. If possible, I would like to attract clients who can afford my services, but I do not want people to get intimidated by my pricing before they understand everything I have to offer and the value of my services. Man, that is one of the $1 million questions, right? First of all, go read Confessions of the Pricing Man. It is all in that book. His opinions are his opinions. My experience is different. My prices are not on a website, right? For various reasons. I can't really commit to a price because I don't know how difficult the gig is going to be, right? I have like a starting rate, and then it goes up from there. Although, if what I might do if I were you on the website is you're talking about the services you offer, it's language about, hey, high touch, white glove, we handle everything, we provide peace of mind, all this stuff you do for them. You might set people up for the fact that it's an expensive service. Right? Now, how you can do that subtly, maybe. I'm not a big fan of subtlety. It might be something around, hey, we're all going to die. That part's true. You don't have to prove that one. Everyone dies. Not everyone is organized about it. We charge a fee to take care of all of those things for your family so they don't have to. By the way, and then you kind of set them up for, hey, this is not just some BS organizing. We do everything. We're going to handle all this stuff top to bottom. Your family don't have to worry about it. By the way, we're also going to teach you there are ways you could get into alter your life insurance so that it pays for my fee. Whatever. I don't know, figure that out. But I'm not sure I would put my packages on the website, because when people see that, automatically they just freak out and say, oh, this is too much. Specifically for a product that a lot of people don't even know what you're doing, right? I think you have a little more expectation and understanding of the customer to do first. I think once you have a brand that's really recognized, then I do it all day long. Throw it out there. Yep, this much dough, we handle everything. Don't even worry about it. We make it easy, And Alyssa, go read Confessions of the Pricing Man, and then call me, because I would love to talk to you about it and kind of figure out what you're going to do. And then my last one here is, once again, good timing too, from Allison at strategymarketing.com. Question is, in your opinion, for my creative marketing agency, would you recommend having set prices for packages? Currently, I have custom pricing for all my clients. I have packages that are a good starting point for clients. They usually end up asking for a custom package anyway. I'm wondering your experience, what type of pricing is best? Confessions of the Pricing Man, number one. I was just having this conversation with this digital sales and marketing firm that I work with in Connecticut yesterday. And they were saying they spend so much time reviewing and changing scopes of work that they feel confident that they're losing money on it. And why don't they just have a flat rate that they steer people through for what they need, right? And if they, to your point over here, if you're the expert, Allison, so if you feel like they need something else or something additional, you might say, hey, we started with this, now we're further into it, we're seeing results. By the way, I think if we bumped it up a notch, we could see this more results. Like, you need this. Do you want to do it? Then they go up. Or they say no and they stay where they are, and then you don't do any more work, right? So I think just from protecting your margins, like the way that you work, spend your time, I think maybe you should have packages that are a good starting point for clients. And when I'm talking to them on the front end, I'd say, hey, listen, here's the deal. It sounds like you do a consultation. Sounds like to me like this package is going to be right for you. It consists of the fee is this, it's X amount of time, hours spent, we're going to do all this stuff. And just know, Miss Customer, along the way, if I see an opportunity for an upgrade that will benefit you and have a big bang on your, depending on what's going on, you'll be able to understand the return on that investment. I'm going to recommend it to you. And if you want to bump it to the next package, then great. If you don't, we'll stay where we are and it's all good. But it's my job. I'm the expert. I'm always going to be bringing these opportunities to you to do more better. And then just leave it at that, right? So I know that that was pretty general. Confessions of the Pricing Man is just a brilliant book that you guys need to read. You need to get hip to it. It'll change. There's nobody on who's ever going to watch this video who will read that book and not reevaluate the way you price your product. I'm gonna go out there and say there's nobody who's going to read that book who won't go reprice your product in some kind of way. Maybe it's just the way you present it, like on your website or not, on the menu or not, or the order it's presented in. I mean, like, it's way too important. So all I can say to you guys is I hope that you'll read that book and let that be one of the tenets of your organization. I think that as I talk to Sean and we talk about, hey, what kind of books do we recommend for people generally speaking? And they roll into AO and say, hey, I know I need to read some books. What do I need to read? And we should have a list for them. That should be on the list. Right? That's as basic as any other damn thing. How to Perform Like a Rock Star and Still Have Time for Lunch. That's another really good one. Good to Great by Jim Collins is a really good one. The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. All this stuff is I think Sean's aggregating the list through the portal, right? So you guys will see all that stuff on the website. But if you had to ask me my top 10 business books, I would rattle 10 off for you. And if you ask me next year, probably be the same 10, although maybe one would have replaced one. These are like bedrock books. By the way, I'm just going to throw this up there. The biography of Phil Knight, the guy who founded Nike. It's called Shoe Dog. And I'm telling you guys, now, for a bunch of people who don't read a lot, I'm not saying that you don't, I'm saying the people at AO Live said they didn't. Shoe Dog is a long book. It is a hell of a biography. I mean, it's a shitload of pages. And let me tell you what, it is the best book I've read in 20 years. Business, personal, it's exciting, it's enthralling. For entrepreneurs, it'll fire you up. So I would suggest you read Shoe Dog just to be able to touch on things and fire. Oh, and by the way, this is a good one. There's a documentary called The Defiant Ones. It's a documentary about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. And they are, music producers. You guys know who Dr. Dre is. Well, Jimmy Iovine is a music producer, one of the most successful in the last 50 years. Those two also are the guys who came together to form Beats by Dre, the headphones, which sold for $1 billion to Apple or Sony, one of the two, I don't know. That documentary, which was done by HBO, although I think you can get it on Apple TV or anything, that documentary, and not just because I am a musician, right? So I loved it for those reasons. As a business owner, it will fire you up. If you want to get fired up, go watch the Defiant Ones, because their whole spirit, everything that they do, that they've done, they're entrepreneurs straight up. Whether it was through music or recording or Beats by Dre or everything, they are straight up entrepreneurs. Defiant Ones could easily, I look at the people who are on this live video right now, and you guys are the Defiant Ones. I'll be honest, I look at myself in this screen on the computer and I see a defiant person. You know, when I started to get all tatted up when I was 19 or 20, of course I thought I was going to be a rock star. That never completely came to fruition, but I did okay. My dad, who was a very conservative Marine, by the way, he was captain of the Marine Corps. He said, "Son, how do you think you're ever going to get a real job with all those tattoos?" And I said, "Dad, I'm never going to have a real job. Not, and I'm not saying the real job you have is not cool. It's fine. It's just not me. It's not me. I don't want to work for the man. I am the man, right?" And here I am, 48, and the rule is, if at 48, if you haven't grown up, you don't have to. So I think I'm doing pretty good. But I look around AO, the entire organization. I see a bunch of Defiant Ones, and I would love to give all of you some homework to go watch that documentary. It will rock your world and get you fired up about your business and what you're doing. It'll light a fire. So I hope that this has been helpful. I'm finished with my questions here. Let me see if there's any other quick questions. Here we go. Oh, there's some good stuff. Oh, see, that's nice. Deanna said that I changed her life. Well, that may be a little, I don't think we know that yet, and we have a good start to changing your life. So I'm glad that you're raising prices and finding your value. I know that, by the way, hello, that online store that you said that you were going to start by August and then you were going to have 4 months of sales. I think the number you put in there was chicken shit, way too low. I think you should be twice, 3 times that, and I bet you blow it out of the water. All right, guys, I don't see any more questions here. I've handled all these. Keep in mind, we're doing these all the time. So feel free to reach out through your portal. Now you've got the website. Now we're reaching out with questions. And I know that we want to do that because the point is we want to be able to aggregate the answers to questions and put them in such a way where you can just go look them up. After a while, when there's 100,000 people in AO and they all have the same questions, right? They would just go straight to the same question Denzel had at the very top about, who do I talk to? How do I find influencers in my industry and whatever? They would just click on that. It'll probably pop right up to this part of this video where we can kind of continually be learning. So it's perfectly done, okay? Guys, have a great weekend. I worked all weekend with this group who was so crazy, they totally wore me out last weekend. I won't say who it was, but you know, you were there. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend with my kids and my dog, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And I really appreciate you guys. And don't let anybody bring you down. Don't let anybody discourage you. If they're not in the fight with you, then they don't have shit to say about it, right? Don't be afraid to tell them that too. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Bye, guys.